Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the City of Flagstaff's Recovery Roundtable. My name is Jessica Drum, and I am the Public Affairs Director. And today we are going to talk a bit about a few COVID-19 relief-related updates, including the moratorium on evictions and some state and federal updates. And I would like to have my guests introduce themselves, please.
Good morning. My name's Sarah Dar, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Housing Director for the City of Flagstaff.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jack Fitchett, and I'm a Management Analyst to the City Manager's Office.
Hi, all. My name's Sarah Langley, and I'm also a Management Analyst in the City Manager's Office.
Thank you so much. And today I would like to start out with Sarah Dar. Sarah, I believe you have a presentation that you'd like to share, and you are going to talk to us a bit today about the moratorium on evictions and what that actually means for constituents who might find themselves struggling to meet their rent payments.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. You're exactly right. That is what I want to talk to you, well, to you and the public about today. And that is the executive order numbered 2020-14 by Governor Ducey that was issued back on March 24th. On July 16th, this executive order was extended until October 31st. And it's specifically having to do with it's a moratorium on evictions for non-payment of rent. So what does it actually mean? It means that a household cannot be forcibly evicted if they, because of non-payment of rent. However, households can be evicted for lease violations, for safety and crime issues, those types of things. So this is only a moratorium on forcible eviction resulting from non-payment of rent due to financial hardship related to COVID-19. So I've heard a lot of things out there about people saying, oh, well, it prevents evicting everybody until the end of October, and that is not accurate. So specifically, what needs to happen? Beginning on August 22nd, a tenant must take some actions in order to delay a forcible eviction. And you're going to notice a theme while I talk today, and that theme is communication and relationship. And that this is key to making items like this work within this time period for both landlords and for renters. Please remember that this is a two-party relationship, and non-payment of rent impacts not only the renters, but it impacts the landlords as well. So I'm going to talk about resources for both sides. It is also really important to remember as we go through this, so this is not about rent forgiveness. This is about allowing time for people to work with their landlord or their tenants to make a payment plan, to allow some flexibility around perhaps partial payments, maybe waiving late fees. But what it comes down to is communication between landlord and tenant, period. And the very first thing a renter would need to do is to notify or re-notify their landlord or property owner in writing with supporting documentation of their ongoing financial hardship as a result of COVID-19 and request a payment plan to be put in place. It's important to provide the landlord or property owner a copy with any available supporting documentation of their completed pending application for rental assistance through a state, city, county, or nonprofit program. And I'm going to provide some of those phone numbers in just a minute. Also, they must provide this information to the constable, law enforcement officer, or court if requested. Now, does that mean that a landlord can't file for eviction during this time period for non-payment? It does not. They can file for eviction. What this executive order does is that it prevents forcible eviction, meaning you have to move out on a certain day. That cannot happen until October 31st, 2020, according to the governor's executive order. So there's some guidance for tenants. The state of Arizona has recognized that There have been some drastic economic impacts to households all across the housing spectrum, and they really want to make sure you have the support you need to stay in your home and working on a payment plan that works for you. So what do they recommend? Number one, shocking here, open up a dialogue with your landlord. Let them know what your circumstances are and request a payment plan. So there goes that communication piece. Recommendation, of course, to gather documentation that is proof of your hardship due to COVID-19. Examples here would include a letter from your employer indicating you're no longer employed there, a documentation that a resident has filed for unemployment, a medical order from a doctor stating that someone in the household must be quarantined, other verifiable forms of documentation. And it's important to provide these documents to your landlord or property owner as soon as possible. It's also recommended that you go ahead and apply for assistance through a rental assistance program or through unemployment insurance if you're currently experiencing unemployment. In Flagstaff, where do you go? Well, the biggest front door in our community for eviction prevention funding is through Coconino County Health and Human Services, located on King Street. Now, the building is closed, but I understand they have some resources in the parking lot, or you can call. They are open. Their number is 928-679-7453. And again, what does it mention here again? Talk to your landlord or property manager as soon as possible. Opening up a dialogue with the landlord is the most important step you can take. If they're unresponsive or they're unwilling to work with you, please make sure you go ahead and have your documents gathered and or ready to present to the constable and or courts if an eviction action order is issued. So that's one side. That's for the folks renting. The other side, of course, is expectations for landlords. So if you are a landlord or a property owner and you actually are also struggling to pay your bills due to late payments from your tenants, there's some steps you need to take as well. The very first one is to open up a dialogue with your tenant. Communicate that you want to work with them and you're willing to establish a payment plan. It's also possible that you could do other things like waive late fees and make this communication as smooth as possible. You want to share with your tenants resources available to them if they are struggling to pay rent. The state has developed a resource guide for rental assistance programs. We are also very close to publishing one for our community as well that has resources for landlords, it has resources for tenants, and is directed at both parties so that landlords could provide this document, it's actually a packet, to renters who are struggling. And the Department of Economic Security has also developed a guide for navigating resources available due to unemployment. So it's important to work with tenants who are struggling financially due to COVID-19. And if your tenant is not immediately responsive, please keep trying. Keep a record of your attempts to communicate with that tenant. The governor's office states, we expect all landlords and property owners to work with their tenants to establish fair and reasonable payment plans and to share the resources available to tenants. So that can be as simple as, did you know that there are resources in our community available through the county, available through Catholic Charities, that type of thing. The other thing that the governor's office has put out is that they also understand that there are some property owners who are struggling to pay their mortgages as well, which is why the governor's office has allocated $5 million to a foreclosure prevention program to be launched this month. I don't have a whole lot of information on this piece, but what I can tell you is the front door for the front door for foreclosure prevention in our community is through Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. They're located over on 2nd Street, and I believe their office is not open either, but their phone number is 928-214-7456. They are very experienced with foreclosure prevention and are waiting for your call. I have just a couple more things to share with you. And some of those things that I wanted to go over are, what are the specific items that would allow for postponement of eviction enforcement due to COVID-19. And here are those conditions. You have been diagnosed with COVID-19 and you must be quarantined. You've been ordered to self-quarantine by a medical professional because of your symptoms. Someone in your household has been diagnosed with COVID-19 and you must also be quarantined. You have a health condition as defined by the Centers for Disease Control that makes you more at risk for COVID-19 than the average person. And lastly on this list is you have suffered a substantial loss of income as a result of COVID-19, such as a job loss, recent pay or compensation reduction, your workplace is closed, or you have an obligation to miss work to care for a homebound school-aged child or other similar circumstances. So those are the items that are listed. If those fit you, you need to pursue documentation of those items, and that's the documentation that you provide to your landlord. So what are the important takeaways from this time together? The important takeaways are that this eviction moratorium only applies to no rent payments due to financial hardship directly related to COVID-19. Communication is key, hopefully initiated by both parties, working out a payment plan, and that this is not rent forgiveness. There is no part of this that forgives any rent for folks. It simply allows you to create a payment plan to be able to catch up on that rent as potential income returns, or assistance is received from a community program specifically for that purpose. Please remember, the landlord can still go to court and get a judgment against a renter. However, providing these documents to your landlord or property manager will keep the constable or sheriff from locking you out of your rental unit. I hope you found some of this information helpful, and in the coming days, this packet of resources will be available on the city's website. Jessica, I'm going to give it back to you.
Apparently, I'm still learning how to use the mute. My apologies. Sarah, thank you. That was so comprehensive, and I think a really valuable set of insights into what an eviction moratorium actually means, because I think we often hear that and have a different set of assumptions than what you just did an absolutely fantastic job outlining what the eviction moratorium actually means for those who are on either side of that rental situation and find themselves in a difficult situation. So thank you so much for that information and for all of those resources. And next, Jack, I'd like to ask you just to provide a couple of updates from the state level. I know Sarah talked particularly about the eviction moratorium, but Governor Ducey recently issued another executive order that covered a few items other than the extension of the eviction moratorium. I'll say that 5 times fast.
Thank you, Jessica. And yes, Sarah did an excellent job covering that moratorium executive order. I'd just like to add on again, so that was really an extension to the previous one that was filed in March, and this new executive order will expire on October 31st. I'd like to mention to our constituents and the public that depending on the COVID situation, it is possible that we may see another extension of that. However, the governor's office has not made any claims of whether he plans to do that or not. I think it will really depend on what the COVID-19 situation looks like in Arizona once we get closer to the October 31st date. We can probably expect if there's additional information related to that around mid-October. With that being said, I would also like to talk about a few other executive orders. There have been many in the last 2 months that have come out of the governor's office, and not all of them are necessarily the most easy to read and understand. So I just wanted to let our public and constituents know that if you have questions about any of these executive orders, whether they pertain to your business and you're running a restaurant and you need to know what your capacity can be at or something else along those lines related to a recent executive order, please reach out to me. You can find some good information on the governor's site, but if you have a specific question that you need help answering, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And my number is 928-213-2078. Also, I'd just like to let the public know that we've been working very closely with the Arizona League of Cities and Towns and our state delegation to continue to advocate for additional funding and assistance to assist us during this pandemic, and as well as our federal delegation as well. But I will let Ms. Sarah Langley speak a little bit more about that because there's a lot going on, especially at the federal level right now. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Jess.
Thanks so much, Jack. And I just want to echo that that offer of assistance. There are, like you said, there are a wide range of executive orders and guidance coming out. And so we have fielded a number of questions from constituents and remain available to consider doing, or to continue doing that insofar as we are able. We may direct you to a different party because the question might, require some legal expertise or expertise from the Department of Public Health or something, but we're always happy to, if we don't have the answer, help you find where to get that answer. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Jack. And Sarah, what kind of an update can you provide from the federal level?
Thanks, Jessica. As Jack mentioned, there is a lot going on at the federal level. They're considering a lot of different topics, but unfortunately, none of it is happening very fast. It's all a bit delayed and moving a bit slower than we had initially thought it would. But luckily, the state level protections have been enacted to really help out our Arizona renters and homeowners. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we are working every day with our federal level senators and House representatives to make sure that they know the needs of our Flagstaff residents and that they're fighting to meet those needs with federal legislation. So we're really lobbying hard to get housing protections and other assistance programs included in the upcoming coronavirus stimulus legislation. So currently on that, the Democrats have introduced a bill, the House introduced a bill, and now the Senate has introduced a bill. And so negotiations are ongoing. And we hope by mid-August to late August, we hope to have some further idea of what will be included in that federal legislation, and can hopefully come back to you with in a few weeks with some good news on that. So we will definitely keep you updated. And yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah and Jack, for those updates. They are much appreciated and I think really valuable for our community members. And thank you so much. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, you can submit them to Recovery Roundtable at flagstaffaz.gov. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and let us know, if you have any questions. Bye.